Welcome to today's wake up call. We're going to try an experiment today because what we were just chatting before we started the call about money, and I was sharing how money feels like a real sticking point for me at this time because I'm realizing more and more how many decisions I'm making based on what I feel I can and can't afford versus what I actually really ought to be doing with my time and energy. And for example, I might, I have the opportunity or feel the desire to go traveling with a friend that asked me to go, and my my sense is that that's the right thing to do. But then I know traveling costs money, and meanwhile I'm, not earning very much in my yoga classes, and I'm wondering what to charge for my coaching services and my so anyway, this it's all just very confusing. I have no clarity on it. And where it's so weird because in pretty much every aspect of my life, I can just tune in and I can get a clear sense of what my truth is, what's right for me, what I need to understand and know. But in this one realm, I can't do that. I can't just tune in and know what's right for me. And so I feel very conflicted and very confused about money. And I feel that it's a barrier to me being able to do what I need to do. So, anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about with Natalie, but she hasn't received any channeling about this from the 5D perspective. And so we thought today that we would just experiment and see what information she can channel about it, or at least receive or tune in. And she is at a cafe, so there's some background noise, but I feel like it'll be worth it anyway. So we'll see what happens.
Cool. What a great introduction. Thank you. Because I've had this conversation with multiple people for the last few months who are very confused about what to do with their business, their products and services, when they're feeling hesitant or uncertain about the future of money. And I think that really goes to the crux of what this is. There is uncertainty about the future of money, and my sense is that it's like the two worlds are colliding. The world that we have built upon the basis of money, strong economy, and then this other world that is emerging, which is the unity consciousness, and moving into a world, the 5D world, which is all based on energy exchange. And the primary point of mastery in 5D is your own energy and your body. Same thing, how you embody your energy and how you become a magnet for what you want to attract and what you desire. So these two worlds are, colliding. That's what I feel like why this is such a sticking point for people. And certainly what I'm witnessing in myself and others around me is that there's this push to release more and more of the constructs around money. So, products and services that require money, releasing them and going, are they actually necessary? So instead of buying food, growing your own food, questioning travel, is it really that necessary? Is there something else I'm supposed to be doing? Where I am right now, and building my roots into the ground where I physically am living. So it's like all these question marks, and again it comes back to the energy, which is in yourself. Where do you stand on this? Going even deeper into your intuition about where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing. And sometimes that means making hard calls and cutting your losses and potentially losing money for the sake of moving into that new energy and the way things are done in 5D. So it's like the universe is pushing us to show where we stand on this. Where do we actually stand?
One thing that's just coming to mind to share, because I just went on a trip to Cuba, and while I was there, Havana is a city of 2 million people. And I ran into this woman all over the place. This one woman, she showed up at this bus stop. I was taking a bus somewhere where I had no idea where I was. I was in this really odd place trying to take the bus to another random place. And she shows up, and she was going to the exact same place as I was going, and she just sort of escorted me there. And then the next day I saw her again. And because I saw her by that point 3 times, I said to her, hey, I'd love to offer you some energy healing, because I thought there's perhaps a reason why I'm intersecting with this woman so much. And she received it. And so we went to this park, and she just received this beautiful energy healing, and basically initiated her into her own ability as an energy healer, because she also is a golden warrior. And what I was, channeled a message for her was very similar to what, you and I are all about. And I don't know that she had really consciously recognized that about herself. So anyway, afterwards, she kind of walked me around, and she showed me so many beautiful, magical places because she lives there. And it was, it was just such a beautiful exchange. And because I just started energy healing and channeling messages for people, I haven't really wanted to charge for it, but I have charged for it, and I have also not charged for it. And yeah, I don't know, it's just so confusing, but it's just interesting to notice that what feels right and what doesn't feel right.
Yeah. And that's it. It's really going deep. We're being called to go even deeper into our sense of knowing about what to do, what steps to take, than we ever have had to before. Because when the outside world is crumbling and confusing, and the reason why it's confusing is because the mind has a fixed idea of what our reality is, and that we have checks and balances about money and how it works and what we need to provide. That's clashing with what our bodies know, because our bodies actually don't know money. Our bodies don't resonate with money. It's not alive. Our bodies resonate with aliveness. They might resonate with the outcome of money, the experience of money, but money itself, nada. So this is why often people can't do these manifestation and abundance techniques around money, and I want to earn this much and whatever, because there is no resonance. Unless you're resonating with dollar, like the numbers themselves, the numbers do hold a vibration. But still, the body recognizes things like this plant behind me, these flowers, It's like, so that's the experience of the body, and that's what we're moving into in 5D. In 5D, it's about no mind. Like not having, basically using the body simply as the mind as an interpretation of the body's knowing. That's it. That is it. So it's basically, it's not the computer itself. It's simply the screen where we make contact with what's inside. And so it's a completely different way of functioning, which is part of why money isn't making sense anymore. It doesn't make sense up here. It never did. It never did right from the beginning. It was a distortion of the ego that created money, and that then created separation between people. So this beautiful example you've just given of the woman in the street, that is exactly how we are to live in the 5D, that we have exactly what we need through the people we were with, or we draw in the experiences that are going to nourish us and lead us in the right direction, only to the next step. We'd only ever see one step at a time, because again, no mind means we can't see beyond the next step. You actually can't see. And this whole thing about money, it's about planning for the future and certainty and how much have I got in the bank in case this or that. So it's really challenging. It's totally pushing my buttons too, because I've been teaching business for 6 years now, or my whole career is in business, and planning and project management and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like that anymore. And that's the clash. The body and the mind going boof. Yep.
Will you share what you said earlier about your sense of almost using up the money that was made in 3D consciousness?
Yeah, so I've had a sense for a while that the savings that I have in the bank, which I've been living off for a little while now because my business has completely reoriented itself, well, not my business per se, but my own personal livelihood and the direction of my life, in this 5D way, like really getting down to what matters. So it's broken down a lot of even the constructs I had in my business. Even though I was doing new age business, I wasn't in a traditional mainstream business way in many ways. The savings that I have were made in the old consciousness, in the old 3D consciousness. And so I've had this sense for a while now going, does this money need to be used up in order for the new money, the new currency, the golden money, the money of a golden frequency to come through? Because when we start to shift into this consciousness, the money that we make, or whatever the form of value we choose, currency we choose, is going to be in that golden energy. And so part of why I've really scaled back my business and almost to nothing for a little while is for that reason, because I'm unraveling that old way, that old energy, to step into more of the gold, so that becomes my predominant energy, and therefore I can make money in that energy. So all of the money I've made has been in that old energy around all of those old business constructs, which are not going to survive in the new world. So I've questioned that, going, okay, does this money, the savings that I have, does it need to be exhausted so that I can create in the new? It's just a question. And I'll also say that part of the reason I haven't received a lot of information around money and how to make money and whatever through the channelings is that money is irrelevant to them, to these beings of a higher consciousness. They don't care. It's like completely not even on their radar, because they just operate by energy. And so that's the mastery again, is what is my energy and can I attract what I need? It's simple as that, whether it's money or something else. But the focus is not money. And so all they've said about money is the system is going to collapse. So get ready, make sure that you're not unprepared. They've said nothing about how to make it. So can't really offer much there. So I'm just observing what's happened since that information came through in my own life, in the world around me, in the people I know, and watching how so many people are withdrawing the power that they've given to money. And therefore, when you withdraw power from something, your need for it reduces and you start to open up other ways of living and supporting yourself and opportunities. So it's playing with that. It's really having some fun with it, playing with the energy now, because there is no sense to it.
Wow.
It's a scramble. It feels like a big pile of scrambled eggs to me. It's like there's no yolk, there's no defined edges, there's no way through it. It's just a big sloppy mess, and it's like all that matters is where you stand and do you have a fork?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, something you said made me want to ask you something, but I can't remember.
Well, it's funny when we talk about this stuff, because, well, I find the more that I talk about it, the less like my mind stops engaging, and the less questions I have and the less words I have, and it's like, oh, it doesn't actually matter. I'll be fine. You know, it's all good. It brings you back to your center and what matters in this moment.
Yeah.
But it's a tall fucking order as well. It really is. I'm not saying this to go, oh, it's easy, just do it.
You'll be fine. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that. Because a lot of people will not be fine. You know, when shit hits the fan, really hits the fan, a lot of people will lose their minds, you know, go crazy because they can't reconcile what they know up here and what they've been programmed with about how the world works with what is collapsing in front of their eyes or what they're seeing. And they'll be like, and they'll go insane because, and I use that term loosely, but really they're going to lose their minds if they can't reconcile that, if they can't connect to their body's knowing. So that is the work right now. Go into the body. The body knows exactly how this grand plan is going to unfold. It knows how humanity is designed to live. And those of us who are moving into this frequency feel it in our bodies, and that we've just got to do more of that. That's where the answers are.
Interesting. Yeah, one of the things that I observed, because I was just in Havana, Cuba, and it's an interesting place because it's almost like a microcosm of the collapse of capitalism, because, you know, it's an island and capitalism, you know, was taken over by socialism. And so people there are really resourceful, you know, because they, you know, sometimes it's just like there isn't any sugar, there isn't any bread, there isn't any coffee, you know, like we're just going to work with what we do have and the resources that are there. And there's a real sense of collaboration with the people, of collaborating to be okay and collaborating to survive. But then as a foreigner going in, there's this, I mean, the purity of spirit there is really high. I'd be curious to know like what their frequency is, because they really have not been infiltrated by technology nearly to the same degree. Like for me to go use the internet there, I had to like pay for a card for an hour, and the internet was so slow. It took me like 40 minutes to upload a video to Instagram. So that's the kind of internet you're dealing with there. It's not like people on their phones all the time checking everything, because it's just not how it is. So they haven't been infiltrated. They're also really embodied. They, you know, there's a high frequency with joy, with music, even though it's really challenging resource-wise. But what I felt was it was really confusing to interact with people there, because as a foreigner, you're like the one person that can bring in currency into that island. And so they see you as a source. And so everyone's kind of grabbing at your energy and always wanting something from you. And not always, but even the people that are friendly, it's kind of confusing to discern what is their true motive. So I don't know, does any of that pique something for you?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I want to say, you know, what we consider poor countries are rich in the sense that they don't live dependent on technology. And so they have to live off the land and being resourceful with between each other, you know, and finding their own joy in other ways, like you say, with the dancing. You know, that those simple things are what 5D living is all about. It's so simple to be happy on this planet, but we've made it so complex. And we've washed ourselves to think that we need all these things. Like we need 3 meals a day for one, you know. It's like, it's just bullshit. It's what we've convinced ourselves, and that's kept us enslaved into making a certain amount of money and blah, blah, blah. So it's I love those cultures because they They bring us back to reality, the reality of we have each other and we have the land. That's all we have. And some of the happiest people are the ones who have so little. So there's richness in the 5D golden frequency. There is a richness in the body that cannot be quantified. It cannot be owned. And that is more valuable than anything we know here in our old world. Yeah.
The creativity that the people there embodied was just unbelievable, because I went there to salsa dance, and so I could not believe, like, it was just shocking, some of the things the men that I danced with did with their bodies, like, and with my body while I was dancing with them. It was so creative, you know, like one person made a limbo bar, and then under my arm, just like, you know, like it in 2 counts, like bum bum, you know, limbo bar and under in 2 counts.
That's so cool. Yeah. Like, awesome. That's so awesome.
And it was just infinite creativity there. So I feel like there was just so much that they're already living of what you're talking about, like creativity and just being in the flow and cooperating and being really embodied.
The simple things. Yeah. So, you know, the best advice I can give around money and business right now is make it about people and tribe. You know, make it about building bonds with people, like truly bonding with people. And that takes time, and it takes nurturing of those relationships, and it takes interdependency. Like, you need something from each other. Like, that's where the future is going. So money can be involved in that or not, but it's all about the people now. This is the age of Aquarius, man. Like, we are really stepping into tribal living now in the new world, not in the old way of tribes, but the same principle. Many of the same principles still apply, and we have to remember.
So one thing that, this might be a little off topic, but I, on this trip, was with, you know, a bunch of old hippies, like people who were idealistic in the 70s, and that were all, you know, there was a big movement of like living off the land, living in harmony together, just like what we're talking about. And these people witnessed that, and they witnessed its dysfunction. They witnessed that these people formed communities. They bought land together. They didn't end up liking each other in the long term. And, you know, like one example was they created an off-grid community, and then someone put electricity in, and they're just like, well, I own this land. This is my land. I'm going to do it anyway. So I found it really discouraging listening to these conversations, but I also found it sobering and true, because I just feel, I see that there's very few examples of communities that have really worked well. So I just want to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, so basically I've heard the same, and it's a huge risk going into that community living format, whether you invest money or not. And all I can say is, having not done that myself, I've only heard of people doing it, and I'm exploring the concept right now. And for me, it's not so much about living in a fully fledged community with, you know, full farms and everything already established. I'm just really focusing on learning how to bond with people again properly. You know, we're told how to bond with our intimate partner, and that's kind of like where all our energy goes, but we can't afford to do that now. We need to be bonding with multiple people and moving beyond that partnership paradigm, because one person to receive most of our energy is a huge loss. And so especially, you know, when that's a sexual relationship, because there's even more of an energy investment in that person or that partnership. And as we know, chances are it will end at some point. So it's like community, I think, is huge risk, and going into it, and I've known people who've gone into it and then it's failed or it's fallen over, it hasn't been what they expected, and then they found somewhere else. It's just life. It's like, if it doesn't work, move on, and you'll find your feet elsewhere. Again, it comes back to following your deep wisdom in your body about where you need to be and who you need to be with. Yeah, it's like shit hits the fan and things fail, especially, you know, where we're at now, which is really clashing between these two worlds. Until the new world is established and that consciousness is anchored really strongly here on earth, then it's going to be messy, and people are afraid of mess. But that shouldn't stop us from taking risks and investing in stuff and moving forward. It's like, embrace the mess and go for it and see what happens. And you'll be guided. You're not going to die if it fails, you know? Yeah, that's all I can say about that.
I love that. Embrace the mess, go for it. You're not going to die if it fails. Yeah, that's so brilliant. So true. Trust your guidance. Oh, Nat, so simple.
There's nothing more to say, really, is there? It's like, well, yeah. So I can't, circling back to the original question, I can't actually give any business advice. So, yeah, there is no business advice anymore. It's go into your body, follow your body's wisdom. There are no strategies anymore. Your body has the answers. So any strategy that gets you in touch with your body is a good thing.
Yeah, that was what I was just thinking, because many of us are not that embodied. You know, we just are not that in our bodies to know. So unless, you know, if you are in your body and you are able to really access your own connection with your body, then great. But if you're not, that's your first job.
Absolutely. Number one priority for everyone across the board. And it is the most challenging in our society. You know, like you say, people in Cuba, it's not. They're embodied people. It's like we need to learn from them.
Yeah, really, seriously.
They're amazing.
Yeah. I had one day where I was in Cuba and I thought that I had money stolen. And so I lost my center. I was no longer able to really feel in my body and connected. The entire day was no flow day. It was in the wrong places at the wrong times, and nothing was flowing. I'm used to things flowing. Like, I show up and there's magic here and magic there and everywhere, and I'm in the right place and I'm following my body, and that's just how I move most of the time. So that's my normal. And this was totally not that. And it was so interesting to have this experience of waking up in this fear, because realizing that I had kind of put two piles of money in my drawer, and then one of them was gone and one of them was less than what I thought it was. But I was spending so much money there that I don't, you know, when I actually went and counted it out, I thought, okay, well, it's possible that I just spent the money, you know, that it wasn't stolen. I just actually spent it. So, but it was so confusing. I think that was one of the things that was really disturbing about that experience for me, was not being able to trust my mind about my perception. Like, I couldn't remember how much money should have been in the piles, and I was questioning myself, and am I crazy? Am I stupid for leaving it there? Am I stupid for thinking someone stole it? And so off center, so afraid. And then it made me question a lot of things in my life. Like, what am I doing with money? Am I tracking it well enough? Am I being irresponsible? So all of these fears just like came up from the depths of me. And my mind was like scrambled eggs, just like, oh, I don't know what to think here. And then my functioning in life was all wobbly and out of sorts. And so finally, I had a good sleep, and I just reconnected with myself and meditated and got centered, and I did energy clearing, and I was just like, well, the bottom line is right now I need some money. So I just borrowed some from my friend. and
Yep.
And I was like, okay, everything's all right. Like, I need money, so I'm going to get some.
Yep. Yeah, cool.
Well, I'm going to spend it because I need to spend it to be okay.
Well, I think it's cool because it's like once we loosen this grip of control around money, we can have fun with it and play. And, it means that we look at a pile of money on the table and go, it's just a bit of paper. Like, have no attachment to it. Actually go, I could blow it and it would blow away. It's like if we can get to that point, then we can truly have fun, and whatever comes, whether it's gold nuggets or it's beautiful, juicy golden mangoes to eat, it's all good. That's where the world is going. And meantime, we get all of our control buttons pressed, and great, messy fun. Yeah. We got to laugh more. We got to laugh more and take life and the things we have deemed so precious. Take it, more lightly. Lighten up.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome. I love it. And I was so glad that I was able to just let that whole thing go because I had a blast after that. I just was like, who cares? And I just had so much fun.
That's it. You're doing it, darling. You're doing it. Just go into that more often. Yeah. Awesome. So cool. So yeah.
Well, if anyone's watching this, please post your questions because it'd be great to have some more thoughts about this, and your comments would be also awesome to receive. And anything else you want us to focus on in these calls, because that can help us guide the content that we share.
Thank you for watching.